同事們。
Good morning. We have a quorum, and we can convene our Bills Committee. It is about the 3 regulations regarding electronic payment, and let's invite the government officials. So I will invite the government to take us through the document. They have a slideshow regarding the 3 regulations, and then I can open up the floor for questions. So if you don't have too many questions, then we can go through the clause by clause scrutiny. So we have Mr. Lei Yu, Mr. Tony Lee, Deputy Secretary for Transport and Housing, Mr. Adrian Lam, Assistant Secretary for Transport and Housing, Ms. Stella Lee, Mr. So Zhan-Chun, Chief Transport Officer, Mr. Peter Wong, Chief Engineer, and EMSD, Mr. Lee Chi-kit, Chief Engineer, and Mr. Heng Su-gei, Senior Engineer from EMSD, and Mr. Manuel Ng, Senior Government Counsel. So once you've taken your seat, you can take us through the document. Mr. Lei Yu. Mr. Tony Lee. Yes, we would like to talk about the 3 regulations. The amendment of the regulations is actually a follow-up on 2013 Finance Committee. They had permitted 5 tunnel booths where we have an auto toll arrangement. At the time, the Finance Committee approved funding, and this is just our follow-up work. So why did we have this auto toll arrangement? Because society had called for convenient non-contact payment system to pay for tolls, such that drivers could have another choice. So Transport Department, after the tender last year, we had shortlisted 2 companies. We have 4 payment systems. We have Octopus, Visa PayWave, MasterCard, Contactless, and Union Pay Quick Pass. So EMSD at the different tunnels are already implementing the engineering works, and we expect that by July this year it can be implemented in Shingmun Tunnel. In other 6 tunnels and roads, they will be implemented by the end of the year and start of next year. So the amendment is rather simple. In the relevant regulation, we will be adding the definition of electronic payment, and we will designate that these systems can be used to pay for the toll in the tunnels and roads. So Transport Department now has a slideshow to talk about the workflow of the auto toll. So, Mr. So Zhan-Chun. Yes, I'll be talking about the stop and park electronic payment. So, in order to implement the electronic payment stop and pay, we will install a card reader. Because different vehicles have different heights, trucks have a higher driver's seat, and private vehicles have a lower seating. So we have 2 card readers. The tall one is 1.9 meters, and the shorter one is 1.2 meters. So installation of card reader will be based on the toll environment. So the external appearance of the card reader, it's 500 millimeters wide, it's 50 millimeters tall, and we have 2 readers, one for Octopus and the other one is for Visa, for credit cards. So the electronic payment procedure, the toll operator inside the booth, they will input the vehicle type, and then the transaction amount will be displayed. If they choose electronic payment, they can use the Octopus card or the non-contact card. They can have it read by the machine. So after a successful reading, there will be sound indication and also a light indication. The payment lighting will indicate that the payment was successful. So we have some frequently asked questions. That is, how far do we need the Octopus card and the non-contact card? It has to be within 2 centimeters. So they can read the card if it's within 2 centimeters. And the system transaction time, it is less than 5 seconds. So compared to cash, where they need to provide change, it's much shorter than the 10 seconds. So if the driver cannot use his card, in front of our toll booth we have some indication signs reminding drivers that their vehicle needs to be parked near the electronic payment system. If they cannot slap their card, they can choose to hand their Octopus card or the Visa to the toll operator, or they can pay by cash. So if the driver has more than one card, let's say they have 2 Octopus cards or more than one credit card, will there be repeated transactions? No, because the system will only read the card that it senses first and deduct from that card. The system will not handle multiple transactions. So after the amount is deducted, the toll operator has to initiate the next sequence. So if the Octopus card or non-contact credit card has insufficient funds, then what? If there are insufficient funds, the driver can pay by cash. If the driver doesn't have sufficient cash, the toll operator will issue a debit note, and they will hand that note to the driver. So if the driver pays by credit card, will personal information be read and lead to a privacy issue? No, because the card reader only reads the card number and valid date. It will not read the name or issuing bank name, so there are no privacy questions. The system also has to comply with card payment PCI DSS measures. So we also have 5 areas of publicity and education. We will tell them when it will be implemented. Second, we will issue a press release, and then at the tunnels and in our electronic display messages, we will indicate that we can use electronic payment, or we will be using that in the future. The operator and the transport department will also publicize through its websites, and the operator will also publicize that their facilities can be used at the toll booth. That would conclude my presentation. So, Mr. Lee, the Deputy Secretary, you said that Visa, MasterCard, PayWave, and Octopus can be used. Well, we also see Union Pay. Does that include Union Pay? Yes, Union Pay Quick Pass can also be used. So we'll now open it up to colleagues, Mr. Yu Sibeng, and then Charles Mock, 4 minutes. Mr. Yu, I'd like to ask, in the last few years, the automatic payment growth rate, what was it like? In the future, if we use cards, will it affect the auto toll? And will it affect the growth of auto toll? They won't use that system anymore. Have you looked into that possible scenario, Mr. Lee? The auto toll usage rate is some 46%. It has been like that for the last few years, so there's no visible growth, and we had thought about drivers, would they switch from auto toll? We think that even if there is, it won't be a large amount, because auto toll and stop and park payment system is different. It seems that they have their own customer base. Some drivers don't want to stop and want to pass straight through the tunnel, so we don't see a large-scale migration. So when this system will be implemented, the situation will remain stable. The auto toll will hover at 46%. Yes, this stop, park and pay, it is for people who are using coupons or cash, and we want to give them an extra choice. So aside from cash, they can use other non-contact intelligent cards. So the auto toll drivers, of course they can choose to use that, but they are already enjoying a current service, and we don't think there will be a lot of migration. Second question, some left-hand drive vehicles will use the tunnel. So the system is serving right-hand drive vehicles, but then a left-hand drive vehicle, if they don't have a passenger to help pay, how will you handle that? Transport Department, Mr. So. For left-hand drive vehicle, if they are using our tunnels, they already face these problems. Normally, the drivers, they are prepared. We see that they have a mechanical arm, an extension. They're already prepared. Now, even if they're not prepared, our toll operators can have staff assist them. So it's just like our Hong Kong vehicles when they go to the mainland, they have the same arrangement. Regarding expenditure, I see there are some recurrent expenditure. So in the future, this expenditure, when the costs escalate, will it be a reason for an increase in the toll? Well, the expenditure will be borne by the government. It's part of the costs of operating the tunnel. And currently, tunnel toll policy is a user pay principle, and it makes up a very small percentage of total cost. So the pressure on toll increase is not large.
Charles Mock, Chairman. This is a very simple piece of regulation, but I have some questions regarding the policy aspects. I still believe that adopting this approach is not the best way. I think the best way is that for the majority of the drivers and vehicles, they should be able to use the auto toll system so that the drivers don't have to stop and tap the card or to take out the cash to pay for the toll. I've asked the same question many years ago. I'd like to ask you, where is the crux of the problem? I think the main reason now is that there is no incentive for people to use the auto toll because they have to pay the operator a monthly fee before they could use the service. Because others, some drivers have their own considerations. For example, the same vehicle could be driven by several drivers, and the drivers cannot agree on how to share the cost. And as a result, sometimes you have mostly private vehicles using the auto toll service, but the toll for the the other types of vehicles, there are very few people using the auto toll service. So people who are willing to pay the monthly fee have already paid, and those who are not willing to pay will never be willing to pay that. Now that you are putting forward this proposal, but to resolve the congestion at the entrance of the tunnel, I think you have to come up with a way to encourage more people to switch to auto toll, if they don't have to pay the monthly fee. Perhaps the percentage may go up from 47% to 70%. So what exactly is the reason? Why do you have to have this agreement with the contractor? Is it because of the contract, or is it because like using credit cards, although no matter how much you spend, you'll be paying the same amount. So why is it that you cannot, why is it that why can't you absorb the 2 or 3%, of the operating cost into the toll itself? So is it because you have this contract with the operator that you must, stick with the current arrangement? The government doesn't have any contract relationship with the contractor. It's all a matter of choice for the individual drivers. My question is, why do the drivers pay a monthly fee? I think you can certainly require the car owner to pay a deposit, but why can't you? Let's say if the toll is $30, then why? And you can charge and the contractor can charge commission of 2 to 3%. You're saying that we can use the credit card model to replace the the requirement of a monthly fee. Well, as I said, the government doesn't have any contract relationship with the contractor, and the contractor has not put forward any such proposal. Why can't you make such a suggestion? I think the figure has stayed at 46% for many years. Why aren't you making such a suggestion to the contractor? I think I'm really surprised by such an answer. Under Secretary, basically I think the contractor is in a monopoly position. So when you sign the contract with the contractor, how frequently would you renew the contract? There are no technical reasons why you can't do it. Mr. Lee. Providing the stop-and-go facility is meant to provide an extra choice for the drivers. Now let's come back to why can't you allow the drivers to use credit cards and the contractor charge a certain percentage? Well, the Octopus company is a private company, and we have not proactively discussed this option with the contractor. But as in the case of other items, the government is now exploring other modes of auto payment. At the Lam Tin and Trengganu tunnels, we are now looking into the possibility of using an automatic, payment facility. So if it is proven to be feasible, we will extend it to the other government tunnels. Chairman, do we have other members who would like to ask questions? Okay. Mr. Frankie Yik, thank you. Of course, this is not the best option. I think the most efficient way is that the drivers don't have to stop and pay. But I would not object to offering the drivers another choice. But I still like to follow up on Mr. Mok's question. At the Hong Am Tunnel, I think it is the auto toll which is most congested in the morning rush hours, and the toll to the left are monopolized by the buses, and then the one in the middle is not being used at all. So I've always suggested that you should install another auto toll next to it so that there won't be any congestion. I've talked about this for many years, that you should provide for an extra auto toll, at the Hong Am Tunnel before you can really achieve the efficiency. At the moment, the government has a recurrent expenditure amounting to about $10 million. Whether people are using the Octopus card or the credit card, there is a transaction cost involved. Well, if that's the case, why don't you talk to Auto Toll and ask them to allow drivers to use credit cards, and so that everyone in Hong Kong can use the Auto Toll, which is the most efficient option. You said that you are exploring a new payment system for the Chung Kwan O Tunnel. I think we've only combined the two systems, so I think what you're proposing may cause a confusion. So if I'm driving on one toll, and we're saying that you should merge the two systems, because if the same tunnel you have two systems, and the driver may be confused because he may be driving along one lane and discover that he may need to go to another lane because he want to use a different system. For the Chung Kwan O Lam Tin Tunnel, we're still studying the feasibility. Because of the configuration of tunnel, we cannot install toll booths at that tunnel. So we would therefore not be able to install a radiator next to the toll booth. In future, if we could really do it, as to whether or not that will cause any confusion, of course we will look at that carefully to ensure that the drivers will not go into the wrong lane and will not be able to pay the tolls. Mr. Yik has another question. Can you provide for another auto toll lane at the Hong Ham Cross Harbour Tunnel? TD? At the moment, we'll look at the actual traffic volume and the utilization to determine how many auto toll lanes we will provide at the tunnel. At the Hong Ham Cross Harbour Tunnel, we are constantly monitoring the situation, and if necessary, we will switch some of the manual toll operated manually to auto toll booths. Thank you. Mr. Ye. For the Hong Ham Cross Harbour Tunnel, I think you may think that 40% of the drivers are using the auto toll, and you have 3 auto toll lanes. But as I said, the two to the left are monopolized by the buses, and all the drivers in Hong Kong cannot use one single auto toll lane to the right. Would you consider, changing the location of those auto toll lanes? Regarding the situation at the Hong Ham Cross Harbour Tunnel, we are conducting a review at the moment. Mr. Charles Mock. Thank you. I'd like to follow up on the same question I asked earlier. 10 years ago at the TAC, I already asked the same question. I'd like to confirm whether my understanding is correct. And that is, you say you can talk to Octopus, but the constraint is, well, first of all, according to the law, is it stipulated that the drivers have to pay a monthly fee in order to compensate the contractor for the service rendered, or is it strictly a contractual agreement between the government and the contractor? Because there must be an agreement or a contract between yourself and the contractor. So what is the reason exactly? If it is a legal requirement, then you may say you don't want to change the law, but still you can amend the law if you want to. I'd like to know, is it stipulated in any agreement that this is the only option? The government does not have any contractual relationship with the Octopus company. So in that case, is it written in the law that the government must pocket the full $30 toll, and as a result, the contractor has no choice but to charge a monthly fee? The law doesn't say. But the law stipulates that the tolls to be paid for a driver driving through the tunnel. So exactly this is the reason. Because the law stipulates that the toll is $30, then it will be $30. I think the problem could be fixed. Why won't you consider this as part of the cost to be borne by the government and pay a few percentage points of the toll to the autobus company? That would resolve the problem. Under Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Mok, for your suggestion. We can certainly go back and consider the suggestion made by Mr. Mok. Chairman, I've asked the same question at the TAC 10 years ago. Nobody listened then. The government has been saying all along that, well, you're now telling us that you are introducing the stop-and-go e-payment facilities, but this is a technology which is more than 10 years old. So let's not belabor the same point anymore. I hope that you can really go back and consider how you can really, put my suggestion into practice, because that is the only way to really enhance the efficiency. And technically, for the stop-and-go e-payment facilities, you're saying that the drivers can use Visa, MasterCard, and Union Pay. For other credit cards, they also have such NFC features, but they're not included. Is it because they don't want to participate or what? Cards like AE and so on. Under Secretary, during the tendering process, we did not stipulate which type of electronic payment facilities. It would depend on the proposals which came back to us in the bids, and these are the four, contractors which were selected during the tendering process last year. What are the reasons why the others were not selected? Was it that these are the only three operators which were interested? We went through a public tendering process, and we follow our assessment criteria to select these four service providers. Could you tell us whether there were more than 4 bidders and you selected 4? Were there more than 4, contractors who bid for the contract? Did you rule out any of the other bidders? I cannot reveal the names of the other bidders which had not been selected. You don't need to name any names. Just tell us whether there were only 3 service providers which indicated an interest. Under Secretary, now we have 4 operators which have now been selected. Had there been more than 4 bidders during the tendering process? These were the only 4. Only 4 service providers, came forward. So these were the only 4 which expressed an interest.
Do we have any other questions? No. Mr. Charles Mok? Anything else? No? Then we can enter clause-by-clause scrutiny. So do we need to handle legal notice number 34? So please take a look at CB's 4795, document bracket 2, cap 368, road tunnels government regulation. So Deputy Secretary, will you take us through that? Mr. Adrian Lam. We're looking at markup copy 001. Well, the first one in cap 368A, we have added the electronic payment system definition, and This is facilities regulated by the authority, that is the Transport Department, and except 12A1, because we're talking about the electronic system. It's already been defined, and we have dealt with that separately. So any questions on this area? No questions? So next page, we have 12 tolls, and this refers to the driver has to pay for how the driver has to pay for the toll to use the tunnel. In clause 2, we've added an extra element that they can pay through the electronic payment facility, and there's also a minor change in Roman numeral 1, 2, and 3. The pronoun he is changed to the person. It's become gender neutral. Any questions? Okay, that concludes that part. That is, we now do deal with 498A. The first change is in definition. We've added the definition of electronic payment facility, and that is similar to the definition just now. That is a facility approved by the Commissioner, and we have defined the electronic payment facility. Any questions? We're on legal notice number 35. So we move on to page 002. We now have Cap 498, Sub-Legislation A, Clause 3. In 3CA, we've added that the driver can use the Tsing control area and through electronic payment system. Any questions? If not, that concludes this part. There's no amendment on page 003. Thank you. We now have to deal with 594. The first one is also in definition. We had to add the electronic payment facility. That is the Commissioner. It means a facility approved by the authority, and we've also highlighted the electronic payment facility definition, and we included it here. Any question? It's the same. No question. So clause 3. In payment fee, it's in the toll, it's just the same as just now. We've added that the driver, they can pay for this toll. Any questions? Any question? Okay, thank you. Any supplement? Legal advisor, any question? So if there are no questions, we have completed the clause-by-clause scrutiny. Okay, are we satisfied? I'd like to remind you, on 12th of April in the council meeting, I'll put forward the motion that the scrutiny of the 3 regulations, we want to extend that to 10th of May 2017. That just allows us to do more work. And this legislation will take effect on 2nd of June 2017. So if colleagues have any CSAs, I'll give you the notice. The scrutiny, the deadline for the scrutiny is 10th of May, as I said, just so we had extended that just now. And we also have to report on the 28th of April to the House Committee. So if you want to raise any CSAs, you need to give 5 days notice. That is, you have to do so before 2nd of May. So, any questions regarding scheduling? If not, then we have to thank you. We conclude here. Thank you. Thank you, government officials. Meeting adjourned.
唔該。